Hey guys, this is Nevis here, and today in this video we're going to be talking about a skill that's been sort of overlooked by a lot of people, including myself. Well, not really overlooked, but kind of dismissed. So we're going to be taking a closer look at this skill today and see if it's worth using on either the healer or the tank roles. Now the skill we're going to be talking about is Caltrops. As of the Scalebreaker patch for update 23, Razor Caltrops is pretty much done for in terms of DPS. No DPS, no stamina DPS is going to slot it. Anti-Cavalry Caltrops is definitely more for PvP because it just, it's aimed specifically towards draining the mount stamina of any enemy player in the area, and NPCs don't have mounts, at least not yet. And Razor Caltrops, definitely just damage completely reduced to almost nothing. So it's not really worth slotting over like Soul Trap or whatever else you're doing as a DPS for Scalebreaker. So where does it fit now as a skill for PvP or PvE? I mean, Razor Caltrops, instead of doing the damage it used to do, it now applies Major Fracture to damaged enemies. So it actually reduces their physical resistance by 5,280 for 1 second. And just to show you guys what it looks like when I morph this to Razor Caltrops, let's see what the Major Fracture duration looks like. So as you can see, if you look at the top of the screen, the Major Fracture keeps refreshing in its duration as long as the Caltrops are touching the target. And in addition to the Major Fracture Razor Caltrops offers, they actually increase the snare of Razor Caltrops from 30% to 50%. So we're going to have to talk about the specific classes to which Razor Caltrops may be of use. For tanks, for tanking classes, it's kind of debatable whether you will be replacing Noxious Breath with Razor Caltrops. So Razor Caltrops, at level 4, it's on the ground for 10 seconds. And the snare may definitely prove useful for certain things like Dragon Star Arena or even 4-man content, and allow you to give, or allow you more reaction time to taunt ads or trash fights or whatever. Noxious Breath, on the other hand, for Dragon Knight, it has a slightly further range than Razor Caltrops, surprisingly. So Razor Caltrops, the radius of the circular AoE is 8 meters. Noxious Breath is 10 meters in the conal direction of which you're facing. So it's actually going out a little further, like 2 meters than Razor Caltrops is. Also, it's an AoE as well, just like Razor Caltrops, and does Major Fracture. So for Dragon Knight tanks specifically, I think there will be times where you will probably pick Razor Caltrops over Noxious Breath, typically for trash fights or ad heavy boss fights. But at the same time, Noxious Breath is cheaper, so it's really going to be a matter of preference at that point, or if you think the snare is worth it or not. For Warden tanks, you do have Subterranean Assault, which does have a much higher range than Razor Caltrops, but it's in a line. So again, that's going to be dependent on whether you want to refresh the Subterranean Assault after a bit or Razor Caltrops after a bit. And again, the main difference between these class abilities, Subterranean Assault, Noxious Breath, or the Necro's AoE, Major Breach, Major Fracture, Graveyard, it's really, the difference comes down to the snare. So if you think the 50% snare is worth it for, trash heavy fights or just handling mobs, for sure I think the snare is worth it. But if you want to stick to the class abilities that give you Major Fracture AoE, then you can still do that as well. So it's just a matter of preference at this point. For the healers, is it worth running Razor Caltrops on healers? It really depends on your bar space available, but I don't really see an issue with healers running it now. It's not about damage, it's not about DPSing on Razor Caltrops. So this could definitely be a very solid support skill for healers and tanks to use in either dungeons or trials, even depending on your class or what your group's doing. I don't think this skill has pretty much made Night Mother's Gaze obsolete. If you are still using Night Mother's Gaze in raids, which I don't think most groups are anyway. And you could potentially put one stamina DPS in Razor Caltrops, or have one person run Razor Caltrops for, places where the ads may be spread out and the circular AoE is still covering it. So Subterranean Assault, it's a line, Noxious Breath is a cone, a Necro, Major Fracture, Major Breach is also a circular AoE, but definitely smaller, much smaller than this. It's like maybe the focal center, like that's how big around here Graveyard is. So potentially this could be a good skill to use for ads that may be all around the place, and also help the tanks keep taunt or manage the ads a bit more easily due to the 50% snare. That's pretty much it, guys. That's what I want to talk about in this video today, the usage and potential use for Razor Caltrops this patch for Scalebreaker. And as always, if you enjoyed the content, please do subscribe. It's always really appreciated. Or if you don't want to subscribe, that's fine too. Thank you for watching the video with me, and I'll see you guys next time. Stay safe and have fun.